I've trained under the best, the one and only Batman. He's trained me in schools, making me study and being a detective. But my best subject is science. You'd be surprised how science can help you solve situations in everyday life.
There is an incoming message. Receiving. Processing. Message ready.
Look, I've got a message from Batman. It says here that villains have escaped Arkham Asylum. I have to use these lessons that Batman taught me to solve my crimes. Batman has sent me these coordinates leading me to my first crime. It seems that at every crime scene I've been to, there have been traces of plant cells. They're different from animal cells because they have central vacuoles, cell walls, and a chloroplast. The chloroplast, which is seen here, helps the plant create food energy. This creates light, sugar, and key nutrients to allow the plant to survive. As for the cell wall, seen here, it helps maintain the cell's rigid structure, thus protecting it from viruses. It is key to note that animal cells do not have this wall, making it easier to identify as a plant. The central vacuole, seen here, has food and waste in it. It's like a container for these materials inside the cell. Animal cells have more than one vacuole, which again helps me identify between plant and animal. Given these clues, it can only be one person.
So I guess you found my little plant cells, haven't you? I guess it would be you who was smart enough to figure out the difference between my plant cells and normal animal cells.
Well, of course, you're just a big mutated plant cell. You have the mitochondria, the smooth and rough endoplasmic reticulum, the nucleus, the ribosomes, cell membrane, Golgi body, and of course, the cytoplasm.
What do you mean? What do those parts of the cell actually do?
Well, you don't know, Ivy? Well, listen up. The mitochondria breaks down food. The rough ER has ribosomes on it, and ribosomes transport the nutrients to the cell. And the most important part, the nucleus. The nucleus, the brain of the cell. The cell membrane decides what goes in and what goes out. The Golgi body, packaging light, sugar, and nutrients, giving it food. And the cytoplasm, a jelly-like substance holding all the cell together.
Ah, I see. That must mean I'm a cell mutation. I'm an altered person due to the caregiver cells that created my DNA. Basically, my cells have been altered to fit new needs, such as human life, and that makes me a special and unique breed of plant with new plant cells. You mentioned something about an animal cell earlier. What's the difference between that and a plant cell? Since you're so smart, I bet you could tell me more.
Well, you see, the animal cells have all the same functions, but the central vacuole, the chloroplast, and the cell wall.
Seems you know your stuff, kid, but are you smart enough to figure out how to catch me?
Well, science always wins. Back to Arkham with you, Ivy.
Good work, Batgirl. You've captured Poison Ivy. Now your next crime scene. Lady Freeze has escaped Arkham using her new tool. It can transform her into any state of matter. That would be a solid, liquid, and a gas if you didn't remember. Be careful. Gotham City needs your help.
Thanks, Batman. Any idea on how this tool works?
Not yet. Robin and I are still gathering information, but you should hurry before she slips into anything else.
Lady Freeze could be anywhere, but if she's in her gas state, she could be blending in with the air around us that we breathe, since her particles are moving so fast.
Aha! So you found me in my solid state, have you? I transformed from a gas to a solid by slowing down my particle movement, so now they're vibrating to keep my solid form.
Well, of course, with that new tool of yours, we can speed up your particles into a body to form a liquid. The particles are not vibrating but in place, but slowly moving past each other, but not as freely moving as a liquid.
How do you know?
Well, of course, because Batman taught me.
Well, I guess it's time for me to speed up my particles, or melt!
Lady Freeze has used her new tool to change her states of matter from a solid to a liquid back to a gas by changing the speed of her particles. Now I have her. Why, hello there. Batgirl sent me to teach you about physics. You, girl in Midgard, would you like to learn about physics?
Sure, I guess.
Alright. Go ahead, try to lift it.
I can't.
Exactly. No person in Midgard can lift Milnor. Milnor's mass is too heavy for anyone to pick up. Mass, as you may not know, is not the same thing as weight. Weight has to do with gravitational pull on an object. Mass has the ability to remain at rest until acted upon an outside force. I am Thor, son of Odin, and my mass can overcome Milnor's.
Isn't there a law of science that relates to that?
Well, yes, there is, random teenage girl. It's called Newton's first law. Newton's first law states that an object at rest will remain at rest, and an object in motion will remain in motion unless acted upon an outside force. You, go over there. Now try to catch. Ugh! See, it stayed in motion until the random teenage girl caught it. Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. This hammer hit the ground pretty hard, though. I'm surprised it didn't make a hole to China. Isn't there a law that relates to that, too?
Well, of course, it's Newton's third law of motion. An object that is combated will have an equal and opposite reaction.
What do you mean?
Say, I hit my hammer in a force with 55 newtons. The ground has to push back with the equal and opposite direction, so the ground has to push up with 55 newtons of force.
Wow, you really learn a lot when you're just randomly walking around and you bump into a funny-looking guy with a winged hat. Thanks for the physics lesson, though.
You're welcome, random teenage girl. I think that gave Batgirl enough time to lock up all the villains. I'll send you over to check in with her. Heimdall, beam me to the Bifrost. Well, thanks, Thor. While Thor has been teaching you about motion and forces, Lady Freeze has been freezing here in her solid state.
Curse you, Batgirl!
Well, until I can hold her a little longer, she'll be transported to Arkham as ice.
There is an incoming message. Receiving. Processing. Message ready.
So let's see what we have. Oh, hi, Flash. What do you need help with?
While I was wandering around town,
Oh, you mean running around town. I can see your speed and that you're changing direction. That must mean you have high velocity. You may not know velocity or speed is just distance divided by time. I could give you your velocity if you tell me how far you've traveled and how long it took. I could give you your acceleration if you don't know. That's your change in velocity over time.
wow, okay, anyways, I was wondering about a few other things.
And?
Well, I need to know how my super suit works. So something like friction and pressure and gravity and all that stuff, how does that all work?
Well, you called the right person for the right job. What do you want to start with?
I don't know, what about the easiest one?
Okay, that would be force. Force is very simple. It's just a push or a pull. Like when I push my chair back and when I pull my chair forward. Also, that the reason behind you being able to run is due to force. You push your force against the ground, and the force is pushing you back up, thus making you to move forward. Got it?
Yep, I got it. Force. What about the next one?
Let's go with gravity. Gravity is another type of force. When pulling upon you to keep you down on the earth, the earth's core has the strongest amount of gravity, and it is due to that we are able to stay on the ground. Without that, you wouldn't be able to run, because there would be no forces acting upon you.
Oh, okay, the Earth's core and gravity and such. What about that last one?
Well, you're talking about friction. Friction is when force encounters with another force. They're basically scraping across each other. Think of it like this. Pushing a couch across the floor, that's creating static electricity, and it's hard to move. The lack of movement is friction. There are little grooves on every source on Earth.
Grooves on every source on Earth?
Yeah, grooves. Grooves are when two objects are rubbing across each other. Also, friction creates heat, which can slow you down. And you, Mr. Flash, your suit is friction proof, thus making you run as fast as you can go, because there's no transfer of heat.
Wow, friction proof. That sounds so cool. Well, thanks, Batgirl, for all the information about my super suit. I gotta run.
Silly Flash. Well, thanks to Batman for helping me solve all my crimes. And special thanks to Poison Ivy, Lady Freeze, Thor, Random Teenage Girl, and Flash. You can see how science and superheroes go hand in hand in everyday life. Well, I gotta go back to my studies. Bye.